Fellas, Panfish over on the Panfish YouTube channel was asking me about the Nikon. He knows I'm keeping up with cameras and stuff, and asked about the Nikon Z6 and Z7. What do I think about it? Am I looking at it? And yeah, I'm looking at them, but let me give you my take on it. First of all, whenever it comes to choosing a camera, you really have to be able to define why you need the camera. Why is this particular technical specification gonna increase your video production capability? How is it gonna make things better for you, or easier for you, or faster for you, or more artistic for you? If you can't explain that, then don't buy it until you can. Now, I'm not going to go through a whole list of specifications. You can just go on Nikon's website or Nikon's website and find those. You can go to Tony and Chelsea's website or their review, even the Angry Photographer guy. You can go to Art of the Image, Matt, Art of the Image. These guys are, quite frankly, way more qualified to talk about the specifications and what that means, at least for photographers. But I'm a videographer. I'm wanting to be a filmmaker. I'm wanting to make fishing documentaries. So what does all this mean? From a historic standpoint, this is the first new mount that Nikon has, or Nikon, I like the way the British say it, Nikon, that Nikon has made since 1959. And that was the F mount back then, you know. And so all this time they've been using a mount that's based in essentially 1960s technology. And they've held on to it for the long term, and my goodness, Canon has come up with a bunch of mounts. They had the old FLs, and they had something before then, I think, but I don't know what it was. The FL, then they switched to the FD, which is what I'm shooting on right now. Then came the EOS, and now they just came out with they're coming out with the new mirrorless mount that'll be something different still. Canon is more kept up with the times by changing their mount as necessary to make use of the newer technologies. Nikon has just tried to make everything backwards compatible, and that's kind of shoehorned them into a hole that they have gotten to a point where they just can't get out of, and they got to come up with a new mount. The difficulty is a lot of Nikon shooters have a ton of old glass, and when you've built your entire career on a certain platform and all of a sudden that platform changes, now what? Well, they have a solution. They have an adapter. I run an adapter. I have no problem with adapters. The only way I can use these old lenses with this new camera is with an adapter, as per the last episode. So the fact that they have an adapter, that's great, and I like that. What does it mean for fishing adventure video shooters like myself and Panfish, and even guys like Steve Douglas, or guys like, I forget the kayak catfish guy or whatever. Well, there's two cameras, the Z6 and the Z7. The Z7 is their high resolution. It's really for photographers. The Z6 is the one that is of most interest to us, video. The question I have is, what capabilities is that camera gonna give me that I don't already have in some form with this camera, the GH4? Not much. I want to make fishing documentaries. I don't want to just have fishing videos of, hey, watch me go fishing, watch me go fishing. I want to do two things. I either want to teach you about fishing, or I want to capture, you know, the fishing as a complete story. Make it a documentary. Take you on the adventure with me. One of the technical things that I want is the ability to shoot broadcast quality in camera. That's 10-bit 422. I don't like 4K because I don't have the ability to process it, so I'd rather go 1080. 10-bit 422 in camera. The Z6 can't do that. The GH4 can't do that. It can shoot 10-bit 422, which is just a codec and the bit rate and the... Whoa, there's a bunch of yellow jackets right there. I need to get some B-roll of that. Oh my gosh, I walked straight through that. You would have to record it to an external recorder, which I have no problem with. That's what I have to do with the GH4 anyway, if I wanted to do that. So what's the point of buying a whole new mount just to do the same thing I'm already doing with a camera that I already have? And here's another thing, a technical specification. It's a full frame camera. I don't want full frame. I don't want to fight the depth of field. If you look at the way I'm shooting now, I'm shooting on the 50mm. I'm trying to get more practice in on the 50mm. It's a little bit more flattering. The camera's about 6 or 7 feet away from me, but the background is sort of blurred out a little bit more. The boat, you don't see so much of the boat, but you get a hint of it there, and it's just more flattering. If this were 1960, if this were 1970, if this were 1980, would I be shooting on 35mm motion picture film to get the footage that I'm getting? The answer is no. What would I be using? I'd be using the old 16mm. Maybe Super 16, the cheaper alternative to make it more affordable to shoot. I mean, do you guys realize that if this GH4 back in 1960 would probably have been like $1 million camera? If you go back to the 60s and look at, say, the Kennedy election or some of the documentaries from that time, like The Salesman, the fact that you could film with film, actual celluloid, and record audio on the same camera and have it small enough to fit it on a shoulder rig, that was like, it cost like $1 million or something to develop that camera back then. So the fact that we can do a lot of this stuff even with this little GH4 is absolutely revolutionary and phenomenal. I think where the Nikon Z6 and Z7 works is, let's say I was still shooting on my old Nikon D3300 and I wanted to upgrade, and I didn't have anything, but now they got this new camera out. It would be very tempting to stay with Nikon simply because they have something for me right here, right now. But because at the time there was nothing available from Nikon that answered my needs, I went with the GH4. You know, a lot of people who are photographers kind of get all mad about people who are like me, who are videographers and aspiring filmmakers using still picture cameras to get video. Here's why we do that. Because that's all that's available and that's all we can afford. I can't afford a $40,000 ARRI Alexa, and nor would that be suitable for what I'm doing. I can't afford a $25,000 Epic Red Dragon, nor would that be suitable for what I'm doing. I can't afford a $10,000 Canon C300, which really is the perfect camera for what I'm doing. Perfect, absolutely perfect in every way. But it's 10 grand. Next best camera would probably be a C200 at about, what, 7 grand? The C100 Mark II at about 4 grand. Maybe the original Mark I or the original C100 at 2 grand. I think you can get it now at B&H. If I can't afford it, I can't afford it. The GH4 was the first camera where you really incorporated 4K video, very high resolution video, into essentially a consumer level, prosumer level camera. You had the ability to take Canon's V-Log or the Lite or V-Log Lite, and you have to buy it separately, install it, and then export it to an external recorder, but it was possible to get a true log format. Now, what's a log format? Log format is just a simple flat profile, and I'll maybe put a picture of something really flat here that makes the image look grossly flat and ugly, which can be graded in post-production to make it look nice and flattering and awesome. Maybe inside here I'm only shooting with 8-bit color. If you really want to do a lot of post-production, 10-bit 422 is what you need. This is 8-bit 420. The GH4 was a big step forward. It was a huge leap forward, and everybody else is just falling in line. Even Sony, even Nikon, even Canon's now coming up with something. No, then they came with the G5, a little bit better color science. Then they came out with the G5S, which was the first, I think, real attempt by Panasonic to get a true cinema videography oriented camera into the hands of independent shooters, people like me and Panfish, and you've seen the quality of the footage that I've had since we switched. But it's a stop along the way. Blackmagic, their goal has always been to democratize filmmaking, and so they're taking these $40,000 Alexas and they've got the cost down to something like about $6,000. Really cheap. You have a full-blown cinema camera for $6,000. That is cheap, but still out of my price range. Then they came out with the Pocket Cinema camera. But then I heard they came out with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K, and I said, oh goodness. But it wasn't going to come out until September, like another couple of weeks from now. I said, well, I can't wait till then. I got footage I need to get now, product I need to sell now, adventures I gotta document now. So I got the GH4. the cinema camera's coming out, and I may end up trying to figure out, maybe end up selling this G4. Anybody's interested, talk to me. We might be able to work out something where I can give you this camera and a good deal on it. We as filmmakers have not had a piece of equipment to do what we wanted to do because we've always had to rely on photographic cameras that have video capability as opposed to dedicated cinema cameras. I kind of wish Blackmagic, if you're listening, Blackmagic, please make a Micro Four Thirds version of your Urza Mini Pro. Call it the Urza Nano Pro, or call it the Urza M43. A lot of people say, well, I can just get a camcorder. Well, a camcorder wouldn't work for me because I can't shallow out the background. I can't use interchangeable lenses, these classic lenses that give me that old school look straight out of the camera. I have to give up a lot of artistic expression to use a camcorder. A lot of what's been driving camera technology of late is photographers who are for the first time having to use videos in their projects. Wedding photographers where the bride wants a real film, like a cinematic or documentary about their wedding. And it's just not good enough to just shoot a bunch of pictures anymore. They want to be able to play the film and not just some cheesy video that looks like America's Home Video. They want something cinematic and beautiful that they can treasure for a lifetime. Photographer, they can't afford a $3,000 stills camera and a $6,000 cinema camera. It all has to be in one. That's why the Sony a7 III is so popular. The Sony a7 6000 so popular. GH4, GH5 so popular. But that's not really what I need. I need a dedicated cinema camera. There hasn't been an option until the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K that's going to be coming out next month. Who is the Z6 for? It's really for photographers who need good video capability. This term of hybrid shooter often most applied to photographers who are having to shoot video. They prefer stills because that's just how they perceive space-time, but business demands, marketplace demands, they gotta shoot video. If someone has a lot of glass in Nikon and they need a lot of video capability, the Z6 is perfect. All right? I don't have any opinion on the Z7 because that's just not my particular area of expertise, whatever. What do you think? What is your thought on the new Nikon Z6 for video fishing videos? And just comment below, talk about it. I know a lot of you just want to see the fishing videos, but for those of you who are interested in the videography aspects of this, I want to bring more videography, shooting, how to shoot videography, things like that. But let me know what you think about the Z6 and the Z7. And hey, I'll talk to you probably tomorrow or whatever. See ya.